Cool. It's some young defensive tackles, and you have this reputation that you've built through a resume you've built on working with defensive tackles in this league and maximizing the potential. What have you seen from some of the younger guys in this group in your first couple months with them?
I mean, it's a hard-working group. You know, a lot of guys with some with a lot of potential. You know, felt like we had a really good spring, but we'll know more once training camp rolls around. But I really like what I've seen so far. I mean, I guess we're still considering Aleem McNeil a young guy. He is a young guy who's played a lot of ball, but I think there's a lot left there, and I've been excited about the way he worked. Levi, I mean, really all of those guys I felt like have gotten better. You know, Broderick, all those guys are really hard workers. Pascal's, and he's kind of a guy that plays inside and outside, but overall I think the group's been really good.
It's a guy that played a lot of 1 and 0 early in his career, moves to 3, drops a bunch of weight.
Yeah.
Has a pretty good first full season there. What do you see as the next logical step in his progression?
Probably just consistency. You know, the really good ones in this league can play the run and they can get after the quarterback, and I think doing that at a consistent level is kind of what we need to see from Mac, and it really starts with practice. I mean, he's got to do it on a consistent basis, and he understands that, and he's been challenged and knows exactly what we're looking for now.
Toward the end of last year, Aaron had to call a lot of blitzes to generate some pressure. How confident are you that you guys can generate pressure just with the basic front?
Well, I mean, here's the thing about good pass rushers is whether you blitz, rush 3, rush 2, or rush however many you rush, you can get to the quarterback. And I do believe we have some guys that can get to the quarterback. Sometimes blitzing is not just about having a lack of pass rush, but it's also about putting pressure on the offense. I mean, if you ask me, if we could rush 10 guys, I'd rather rush 10 guys. Now, that might put the coverage in jeopardy, but, I mean, that's just what it is now.
I think it's called cover -4.
Yeah, there you go.
With Broderick, you know, even here when he was drafted, but his first year, they never shied away from the fact that it was a developmental year for him. He spent most of his years a healthy scratch on game days. You see him out there, he stands out in terms of size, just looks different than next to many of the defensive linemen. What is the approach for you as a coach when you're still kind of building a foundation of a young player? Like, where do you start till you get to the point where you can start building the building blocks on top of that foundation?
Well, he's still a rookie in my mind because, like you said, he didn't play very many snaps. So developmental players, sometimes guys look at that as a negative. I look at it as a positive. And truth be told, if you're a great player, you're still developing. And some guys are just coming from a little further back. But I think Broderick is his game is going to have to be when pads come on, you know. And again, we do what we can do out here, but you can't. It's hard to judge a nose tackle without shoulder pads on completely, because I mean you can get away with some things out here right now that you can't hide from in training camp and in football games. But we'll find out long before the games start whether to see how far he's come. But I think I think everybody looks at where a player was drafted and think, okay, well, this player should be this. But everybody learns and develops at a different rate. So I still see him as a developmental player, just like I see Lee McNeil and Hutch and all those guys are still developing players because they're all just so young. I mean, I was looking at it the other day. I mean, it's a lot of 25, 23, it's a lot of young dudes in that room, which is a good thing. I'm excited to work with all those young guys now.
What do you do with Broderick, really quickly, what do you do with Broderick during the spring? I mean, what pads are when it's most important to him, but what are you doing to get him ready?
Hitting the sled, just watch, and honestly watching a lot of tape. I mean, just watching tape on how things should be done. hitting the sled, just constantly working with him on his pad level, and doing those things. And I think, he's got 35-inch arms or something crazy like that. It's just he's got to learn how to use them violently is kind of what we're looking for now.
You guys got a guy like Marcus Davenport in the building. What does he bring to the team? What do you expect him to do?
He's a big, long, athletic guy with a lot of position flexibility, and he has a history of playing very, very physical in this league, and having two big. I mean, we got two really big defensive ends with him and Hutch, two long, athletic dudes. So, I mean, that's really what we're expecting for him to play like he looks. So, we're excited about that.
Was the enticement and just the young talent on the defensive line a reason for you wanting to come here to Detroit?
It was a big part of it, and I looked at the roster and I know the coaches here and I know what they want, and so it was an easy transition, but it was a big part of it. I mean, looking at Aleem and looking at Hutch and looking at Pascal and all these guys that I feel like are getting better, and my job really is to just give them a little shove and kind of see where they go.
You mentioned the young dudes, and when it comes to Hutch, as good as he's been, how much better can he be? Is there another year? Can he do it on his own, or does he need help on the other side, or someone inside?
Well, I don't know who can do it on their own. I mean, I've coached some really good players, and those players, if they're honest, will admit that they need other people. And so Hutch has been he's been unbelievable this offseason, and I think he's made huge strides from the time I arrived and to where we are now. And it's not me, it's him studying tape, it's him asking questions. He's everybody sees a big, tall 97 with long arms and Mr. Michigan and all this other stuff, but what you don't see is the time that this guy puts in, and he's constantly asking questions and studying tape and studying other players and working on his craft, and he is an extremely coachable player. Like, I love the guy because of what he's about. Like, he's about getting better. He's not about the glamour and glitz. He's just a grinder, and we need a lot more guys that have that mentality.
It seems like going into each Lions season the past few years, a lot of the talk and focus has been on the offensive line, how good they are, top 5, how good they can be. Does the defensive line start to kind of feel that swagger a little bit?
You know what? The film will tell all of that. That'll tell the story. You can have all the swagger you want in May and early June, but when you put pads on, that'll tell the story. I know that we'll play a certain way. Like, I believe that strongly, and I believe our players feel like they're going to play a certain way. So, my job is to help them get better, but also to build up their confidence. Because when you tell them that they're bad and they're this and they're that, then they start to believe it. And it's important that they listen to who they need to listen to, which is us in this building. And no offense, but not you guys. Like, you can't define them. We'll define them and what they are and who they are and the way they walk and the way they talk and the way that they play football. That'll come from us in this building.
So are you more teddy bear than tough love? How would you describe yourself as a coach?
Let's see how teddy bear I am when we put pads on. Like, we'll figure that out quickly.
And you mentioned that Broderick stands out there. Wingo stands out in a different way, right? And he's not shied away from it. He's been a small defensive tackle for his entire life. I'm just wondering, what players have you coached that have maybe had that size, that skill set? And, is there a trick to finding out the best fit for that player within your scheme?
Yeah, I don't want to really compare him, make comparisons because we start thinking, well, this player should be like that player. The one thing I'll say is that he's an explosive player that understands what his limits are, and he also understands what he can use to his advantages. And so he's an explosive guy that's extremely quick hands. He can rush the passer, and I believe he'll be a good run defender for us. So I'm excited. I mean, where we got him and what he's been able to do so far, I'm super excited about that player.
A couple more guys. Quick that you'd love to rush 10, but you've been experimenting with Wingo and Onwuzurike a little bit on the edge. Dan said that's to make it so you have to rush fewer in some situations. What is the value of having, I guess, the flexibility where you can have some of those 3-man heavy fronts to give you some schematic flexibility?
Sometimes rushing a passer is pairing up the certain guys with certain players, and if you got a guy that's a speed guy and he runs, up the field, then you need a guy opposite him that can crush the pocket so we don't create big seams in there. So I've always liked to put bigger guys on the edges sometimes and put some of the smaller guys inside. So it'll be fun because I do think that we have some flexibility with our personnel and what they're able to do now.
Brad talked after the draft about just his eyes really being opened by Wingo and what you can do outside on the edge, obviously going on the inside read. How do you sort of envision using it?
Inside and outside. Like that's simply put, because again, when you have guys that have position flex, that makes it tougher on offenses because they don't always know where those guys are going to align. So he's done a good job so far, and he's really advanced for a rookie as far as just understanding how to use his hands and pad level and how to rush and where to rush, and I think when you're a guy like his size, you have to play a certain way, and he plays that way. And so, we've been excited with his development so far.
Playing that way, what does that mean exactly? How do you have to play for that size?
You got to use your hands and be where you're supposed to be. And that can apply for any position, but that player, it definitely applies to him.
He's messed
up. Yeah.
Jen, last one real quick.
How would you describe yourself as a coach?
I'm adaptable is what I'll say. As I can pretty much coach in any scheme. I can coach in any environment, and I think that if all the players get from me is what we do on this field, then I've missed. I care and I love the guys that I coach, and if that makes me a teddy bear, then that's what it is. But I will say we're going to play with a certain style, and that style fits what this football team is.
All right, I'll start a little bit with my bio, I guess. This will be my 22nd year coaching, 12th in the NFL. I'm fired up to be here. I could tell from day one that this place is special. Just being around Dan, being around the staff, love the energy, love the sense of urgency, the attention to detail. So it's been something I've been really looking for my whole career, and I'm fired up to be here. So whatever questions you guys have.
Did you have a pass with Dan?
I didn't. I had a pass with Aaron Glenn. I worked with Aaron when he was in personnel at the New York Jets. I was coaching in the secondary, and then when I had a chance to be the defensive coordinator to Cleveland Browns, AG was one of the first guys I wanted to hire just because I thought that much of him as a person and as a coach. So that's really where the history lies.
And so what do you sort of see your role as sort of providing to the guys and the coaches and the players?
Yeah, I think I've had every title on the defensive side of the ball in the NFL, D coordinator, secondary coach, linebacker coach, everything except D-line. But right now I'm assistant Shea and I'm coaching the safeties.
What you've seen in a 5-2, obviously you haven't seen Kirby too much, but that opportunity to play at the end of last year, how important is that for a player coming into the spring and to have some of the success that he had? Obviously, just seeing the confidence he has.
What was the beginning of your question?
The 5-2?
Yeah,
just
with Iffy.
being able to play at the end of the year and get those reps like he did and have some success with it. How much has that maybe made
No, I think
coming into the spring?
Right. I think it's awesome, and it speaks a lot to the player's resiliency. As far as he was banged up his first 2 years, he had a position switch, and then he just kept fighting and he kept fighting, and he got his chance halfway through last year, and we all saw the results of that. And he did a lot of really good things as far as sacking the quarterback, intercepting the football, being down in the run fit. So he still has a lot to learn with the safety position. But I thought he had a great spring. I thought the fact that Kirby and BB weren't out there at the safety position really allowed him to step up and take on a leadership role as far as communicating. And I thought it allowed him to play a lot down in the box, also up high at the deep part of the field, which, if Kirby was out there, he'd probably be more down in the box and that kind of stuff. So I thought this spring has really allowed him to grow as a player. I'm excited to see how that competition takes shape coming into training camp.
Is there something that's exciting to you about Iffy having a lot of room to grow and you being able to kind of coach him up to help him get there?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, anytime you, as a coach, you get a good young player with a lot of talent, you get excited about it, and just, hey, what are you seeing here? This is what I'm seeing. Anytime you could coach a guy into helping him make plays or develop as a player, it's fun. It's why you do it. It's why we. Go ahead.
How much more could we see Brian maybe potentially be back there switching roles between the nickel and safety, and how interchangeable are those positions in you guys' defense, that safety and nickel?
Well, I think if you asked AG, would he prefer his nickel come from the safety position or the corner position, he's going to say over his history, he's preferred it from the safety position because of how much we ask those guys to get into the run fit. I think, obviously, in my opinion, the nickel position is one of the hardest positions to play in the NFL on the defensive side of the ball, just because you got to cover like a corner. You got to fit the run like a linebacker, and you got to communicate and do multiple jobs like a safety. So I think last year they were a little more hesitant with BB to just kind of fix him at one spot, whereas now that he's going into year 2, I think we'll be more aggressive with him. And I mean, he's the type of player you want to see out there on all 3 downs. So we're going to push him to that. But at the end of the day, he's still got to come out in training camp, and he's got to take that job.
How good do you think he could be?
Brian Branch? Yeah. I think he could be really good. I think he could be one of the better ones in the league. Coming off the rookie campaign that he just had, some of the things he did coverage-wise, some of the things he did run-fit-wise, blitz-wise, I'm excited about him. I'm really excited about him.
Is there anything specific that lies ahead for him as far as the challenge of, being that versatile weapon in the defense?
I think it's just learning it. Now he's had an awesome offseason in the classroom. We forced him to over-communicate with us as a secondary group and as coaches. So now he's just got to be able to take it to the grass, which, in the role he had last year, I thought he played really well as a rookie. Now it's that, can he make that next jump as a second-year player, and can he make that next jump maybe just being fixed as a safety or maybe being a safety and a nickel? That's all things that we're going to figure out in training camp.
It would appear that Brandon Joseph had a solid spring. What have you seen from him?
Yeah, this is my second stint with Brandon. So we worked together at Northwestern for a year, and it's been really cool to see how much he's grown as a football player. But yeah, I thought he did a really good job stepping in with some of the injuries we had and running with the ones. I thought, he had a nice interception on a double post the other day. I thought he did some really good job communication-wise. I think everything with Brandon is going to be about when we put the pads on and how he shows up tackling and how he shows up in the run fit.
Didn't get a chance to see Kirby obviously on the field, but just the success he's had. I think back-to-back 4 interception seasons, which isn't easy to do as a young player in this league. Just where can he ascend to in this league with his ball skills and maybe some of his instincts?
Yeah, I mean, to me, he does the 2 best things you want out of a deep safety. He takes the ball away, and he makes the middle of the field a scary place. So, I mean, when you possess those 2 characteristics as somebody who's going to roam the deep part of the field, you're going to scare offensive players and you're going to scare quarterbacks. So he has those 2 traits. So it's going to be interesting, and it's going to be fun to work with him going into, the rest of his career here.
How important has it been that he's been kind of mentally out there, and obviously can't do everything physically, but he's out there doing, walkthroughs, he's communicating with everybody?
It's huge, and he's done an awesome job with all of our young rookies as far as asking them questions, make sure they're taking notes, He's very vocal in our meeting rooms. He's been able to do the pre-practice walkthroughs, which is good for him to kind of keep building that chemistry with the rest of the defensive guys, because we do have a lot of new pieces this year. So just him being out there and getting those 20 to 25 reps before the practice starts has been huge for him.
It's a really young room. Is
Yeah.
he kind of been the veteran of the group, would you say?
He is really right. Him and Carlton Davis are the two. I mean, I think Carlton Davis might be the only second contract guy we have in that room. Everybody else is first contract, so it's good. You know, there's not a lot of. You always want to explain the why, but you know, you can just kind of put it in, and they listen and they get it done. So it's easier than working with an all veteran group. Yes.
You like that as a coach, that you have all these multiple players?
I like the mix.
Yeah.
I like the mix. You know, I think when guys understand the why, they know how to get themselves out of trouble when they're out on the field when you know, if something bad happens.
From maybe your early look, is this NFC North group of wide receivers among the most talented you've seen?
Yeah. I mean, J-Mo's had an unbelievable spring. Saint is Saint. You know, I've been watching him for years now, and I mean, he's a headache on third downs, and his route running has been awesome. And they've had some young guys emerge. So, and then you put Laporte in the mix, and we haven't seen Gibbs out there, but I know the plan is to use him more in a receiver type role. So it's going to be exciting, and it's fun to go against, because if we're going against the best, you know, it's only getting us better.
And speaking of that too, the division as well with Jefferson,
Yep.
Vikings.
Yep.
Is the division set of receivers as well?
Yeah,
talent as well?
I think everybody's upgraded this offseason, so it'll be fun. We don't see those guys for a while though, right? It seems like we get them towards the middle to the end of the year, so we'll have a lot of film, see which way they're going, and see how they're doing by then. But we'll see.
What were your impressions of Dan from afar, and then have they changed or not now that you've been around for a bit?
Well, I mean, I came out here last year and watched 2 OTAs, and Dan didn't know me, and he probably sat down with me and spent 25 to 30 minutes on 2 separate occasions. So that right there, I was like, wow. I don't know if that would happen in any other NFL building. And then when I came out for my interview, we just sat and talked for about 4.5, 5 hours. And it wasn't necessarily football. It was more philosophy about my family. And he's just a guy that you want to work hard for. He's a guy that kind of, he's what works in this league. It's what you see is what you get. And like I said in the opener, it's kind of what I've been searching for my whole career, and I'm glad to be a part of it now.
Can you articulate at all what is it about him that seems to draw people from
Just
all sorts of backgrounds?
I
kinds of people, right?
I think if you're not exactly who you are in this league, people are going to smell you out, and you're not going to work. It happens every year, right? At the head coaching position or at any level, right? As a player or as any coach. But I just think he's got an awesome leadership quality. I mean, we compete in everything we do. We're in staff meetings, and all of a sudden he'll have a board game, you know, or where we're at football and we're knocking down pins in the indoor, you know, competing against the offense, defense versus offense, or trivia games. It's just he finds a way to make it fun, and he's passionate at the same time when we're trying to get work done when it comes to special situation stuff and how we coach team ball and how we coach situational ball. I think that just his leadership style, it's infectious. It is. It's hard to explain. You know, it's probably why the whole nation was rooting for the Lions all last year during the playoffs. It's just people want to be a part of it.
What was the nature of your visit this year?
So I took the year off, and I wanted to just reconnect with some people who I might have known and, you know, from previous staffs. And Detroit was one of the stops that I decided to come to, and I spent a few days here, and I knew they were going to be good off of the 2 days just because of the practice style and the detail that was into it. And I'm glad I came out on the visit, because it gave me a chance to meet some guys and reconnect with some guys, and then obviously it worked out for me this year.
Last year, AG, I believe, was the top-rated coordinator by the Players Association.
Yep.
I guess just what have you seen from him and his career trajectory and the way
Right.
he's grown, and then what excites you the most about him? Just pairing that up.
Yeah, I mean, he's a no-brainer head coach in this league, first of all. But he's got an unbelievable work ethic. I mean, he's there early. He's out late, even in the off season. He's truly passionate, and I think that because of his history as a player, he can hold these guys to a standard that some coaches struggle to hold guys to. And he does a great job balancing he can get after you, but he also can put his arm around you and kind of explain to you in 2 different ways why you need to get better at that specific thing. And he knows all 3 levels of the defense. I mean, even though he played a corner in the NFL, he knows all 11 guys out there. So I've been really impressed having whatever it's been, a 5-year window away from him, to now come back and see how knowledgeable he is with how to stop the run with the front, how to attack protections with his pressure packages, you know, how to game plan coverages, all that stuff. So he's awesome. I'm glad I'm working for him.
So I'm really curious about the relationship that's budding with Jared and Terry in person. Just seems like they have kind of this offensive defensive chemistry. Jared seems, you know, keen on helping him develop. Absolutely. He seems keen on making the great strides to value as, you know, guys play point. Is that having that relationship with your team's quarterback in your development?
Oh no, it's good. You know, especially veteran guys. Any veteran guy that can help a young guy out is always a positive thing. And then especially just being able to communicate with your quarterback in those different ways, what he sees, it'll help him. But any veteran reaching out to a young guy, that's what they're here to do.
When you were in Pittsburgh, did Ben help you get better?
Well, Ben was a little younger than me, so you know when he got there, I had been in 6 years. But it's always good to help. You know, what I'm saying, just be a good teammate.
Just from the outside, it looks like Terry's got the advanced confidence. I know all good corners do, but he just seems like he's a very confident guy. Have you noticed that as well?
Nah, you better be confident. You know, just about whatever you do. If you don't believe it, nobody else will. But you know, he works the right way. He asks the right questions in meetings, and he just has fun on the field. So you know, the confidence is you know one of the most important things of a corner. He does have that, but you know that's why he's here.
He's missed a little bit of time. I mean, nothing serious, obviously, Coach just said, but what's your sense already of how impactful they can be as rookies?
Nah, they have a lot to learn. You know, it's early, but you know they've done some good stuff so far. They've done some bad stuff as well. So you know that's just a part of the learning part of being a DB. But you know both have potential to be really good players.
So how important is it to Ben for that?
Yeah, no, Carlton's been, you know, he's a quiet leader. You know, they watch how he works. They watch how he comes in every day and prepares, but he does a good job with them. You know, he's not going to be one, you know, that's going to be just out here rah-rah, but, you know, in the room you see him talking to the young guys, and that's what it takes. That's his strong suit, you know, to be a big guy that uses his size to his advantage, and you know he's been a star in the league for a long time. So
maybe the complete opposite is weak in terms of the size part of it, but still a guy that puts his hands on a lot of footballs and sees and plays a lot bigger than his size. What do you like about his game and how he fits?
No, it's just what you saw. You know, you saw the feistiness, the toughness that he plays with, the grit that he plays with, and then there's just demeanor. You know, he has that demeanor like he's 6'8", so you have to love it. You have to love it.
Ennis seems to be kind of locked into the slot early on. You know, he has inside flexibility. Is there intent, I guess, in kind of letting him learn one spot as opposed to maybe overwhelming him as a young player?
Well, you know, he hadn't done much with walkthroughs, so you know that's the thing of of not having him out. But it's, you know, he'll do whatever is asked. You know, he plays outside, inside, but you know, for him, it's just good to get reps. You know, and that's what it's about. Just reps, meaningful reps. Every rep counts. Walk through practice, all of it counts, and it's just good to see him to be able to do both.
When you get around to setting that rotation in the fall, what's the most important thing to figure out who's a starter, who's the
man? The good thing about it is, you know, you have to prove it. You know what I'm saying? So the rep doesn't matter when you start. It's when you get it, and you have to make the most of it. And then that's what we're here for. We're here to compete. We got a room full of players that's ready to go out there and prove it, and that's what we have to do every day.
Consistency versus big play ability versus maybe
yeah, you know, you have to be consistent. You know what I'm saying? At DB, you can't be here and there. That's, you know, if we have a bad play at 7, you know, that's never the thing. You want to be as consistent as you can every day, and know what you're going to get every play, and that's what practice is about, what I'm saying, building that consistency, that muscle memory of reps that you need, and that's why we all need those plays.
Asking for an injury update, like how's Emmanuel Mosley doing? Just kind of coming up and down.
Now, E-Man, and injuries, that go to the head coach, but just good to see him moving around and pedaling, and I love his mentality in the meeting room. He's one of those guys that you can see why he's a pro and why he's lasted this long in the league so far.
Last year with Branch, they wanted to sort of keep him on that slide and get maybe safety, but try to keep him on that slide so healthy. Is he ready for a bigger safety role? Oh, man, Branch is, anytime you're going from your first year to second year, it's going to be some improvement, especially mentally. Just learning a different playbook, learning, what's expected of you in the league, and then seeing his improvement in the classroom so far this year has been major. And, he's a football player, so whenever he's needed, he'll be able to play.
What are the benefits of a player like that being able to play out the spots and throw some safety in there and do some different things?
Yeah, that's our role. What I'm saying? A lot of times when you can't dress everybody, you have to have guys that have position flex, and that's a testament to who Brian Branch is. He's a guy that that can play nickel, and he can play safety. It's just what is best for the team.
Got a lot of young guys every team does, drafting guys at this time of year. Seems like Norris has made some plays. It looks like he got some extended opportunities higher on the bench or in the last couple practices. What have you seen from him as a young player?
Man, you see his athletic ability. That's the one thing that does flash right away is him in coverage. Getting able to get his hands closer to the football and seeing the way that he moves. And then the mental part is just going to come with reps. But the thing that jumps off initially is just his movement skills.
It's been like working with Jim O'Neill.
It's been great. It's been great. That's one thing is, when you're pulling the rope the same way, no matter who it is. And Jim's as a guy, he's a true football guy. A good person, good coach, and that's what we're here to do. Just find ways to get guys better.
All right, thanks,
All right, appreciate y'all.
The million-dollar question everybody wants to know is how is Jack Campbell looking so far, even though they're still in their pajamas right now?
Yep, it's hard to get a full tell, obviously, physically on the linebacker position during this time of year. Due to the physical nature that we play, especially here. But he's exceeded my expectations, which were already high. But he's come back further along than where I expected, because you don't have meetings during the gap from the last game to now. And really those guys with the length of the season, him coming off a rookie campaign and all that stuff, typically you see those guys take a chunk of time off and come in kind of still raw. But this player, you could tell, dove right back into it, even told me took minimum time off. I'm sure his fiance hated it, but he got right back engulfed in ball, and it's paying off for him right now. He's with Alex being out the majority of the offseason. Jack led the huddle, made the calls. Everybody looked to him. He was making the checks, and to be honest, he set the tone for the offseason defensively.
Is that a mentality that you've seen from him day one of being that kind of player, or has it grown over time?
He's always had it inside of him. I told you, he was my favorite and one of my favorite to this date. Going on my fourth year now, doing the combine interviews. It started at the combine interview. I'm at the formal interview upstairs. Dan, Brad, and all them alluded to it. That guy lit the room up with his energy, his excitement when he talks about football. But now I'm telling you, it's at another level. This guy here is operating like an 8-year vet as far as making the calls, how he sets the standard of how we practice as a defense. And I think other guys are starting to look towards him now.
Is that a result of independent film study, or I guess how did you develop that?
It's like Jack's one of the most coachable players I've ever been around in my life. And I'm talking as a player or coaching. It's always, you can literally tell him the sky is green right now, and he'll say, yes, sir. I'm like, Jack, no, it's not. Why'd you just say it? He's just got that level of respect for authority, and it's just the way he lives his life, to be honest with you. So it makes it easier when you take guys in like that as a coach, trying to set standards, trying to show guys the way you do things, taking a guy, first-round pick, a guy people already look to because of the stature of the player he's in, but it's about the person that he is that I'm able to coach him hard. So, hey, listen here, Rook, if I talk to Jack like that, you better get your butt in line kind of thing. So it's good to have a guy like that, along with the others, setting an example for the room and the team.
I think those reps last year can set him up for maybe a big year this year.
Absolutely. Like I said, although he was a first-round pick, a thing our front office has stood by since day one, since I've been here, was guys got to earn their keep and earn their roles around here. And I think it's evident. Derek Barnes did an outstanding job because we call a spade in my room. It's hard to hold off a first-rounder, a guy that gets taken first round of your room is expected to play. Well, Derek Barnes, like I stated last year, had something to say about that. So it's not so much Jack wasn't prepared for the full load. It was more so credit to Derek Barnes and what he was doing to allow himself to have a role. And those guys, like I tell you, it's the craziest thing in there because you lose sight of a guy like Malcolm. You lose sight of a guy like this when you're sitting up here talking about Jack Campbell. Well, those guys are his biggest fan, and he's their biggest fan. Like, it's times where I'm pulling guys off the field, and I'm like, I got to get him 3 reps. He's like, it's all good, coach. I want him to play. And you rarely find that in this sport where guys are competing for monetary prizes and things like that, but we're fortunate to have that.
There's been a lot of talk about continuity within the coaching group, but let's talk about the players. You've been able to have most of these players for a few years. Like, how does that build for you, the program you're trying to establish and trying to teach them?
And I think that's something that you'll see, and you saw this offseason. The biggest jump we're making, I can tell you firsthand, as a defense, and then that bleeds more further to the team, is the chemistry, the collectiveness. When you talk about the defensive scheme, this is the first time in 4 years we're carrying over the same system for the most part, for the bulk of it. So guys that's been in it. Now it's not installing basic one-on-one stuff. We're now hitting the 300, 400, 500 level nuances of the ins and outs of it, which allow these guys to play faster, make plays that you probably couldn't make learning it first day brand new. And then these guys gelling together, knowing how Aleem McNeil plays and how I'm going to play off him, knowing how Hutch plays. These guys now have had 2, 3, 4 years, some of them in instance, the Levi's of the world. These guys been here since 2021. So when you have that, obviously it's natural growth and progression within it.
Finding corners that can match up in man coverage seems to be a priority this offseason. What can that do for the guys in your room?
Oh, it can do wonders because, and just overall, I mean, we've added Reader, we've added Davenport. I mean, these guys are high-end players in this NFL who's proven it already. So it's not skepticism. You're not looking over your shoulder and not saying that's what's happening, but it is what it is. Guys trying to overcompensate for what they thought were places they needed to help instead of doing their job. And that bit a bunch of people in the butts last year. Just getting off the bus knowing you got guys in. It's the confidence thing, too. Like, I say, like, being on this practice field, hearing corners talking trash out the huddle, saying I got this guy and there's nothing you're going to do about it. I haven't been around that since I've been here, and I rarely been around it in the league. It's rare you get guys like that walk, talk, and act with that type of confidence, and we have multiple of them right now. So it's a thing of beauty for sure.
So is that sort of maybe peace of mind for linebackers?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And then in turn, these guys are saying they've never been around a linebacker room where the average height 6'3", 6'2", and these guys getting into these intermediate throwing windows because in turn, just like they're helping us deep to short, we're helping them short to deep with insulating those intermediate throwing lanes so now they can stay top shoulder, know the leverage they play and things like that, knowing these guys are going to be in those windows underneath.
With Derek and the year he had last year, culminating with the interception against the Bucs, is that one of your more satisfying coaching projects since you've been in the league, just to see his growth and how it's kind of?
Absolutely. Like I said, like D Barnes is like a little brother to me. He really is. Like when I took him on in 2022, we knew the challenge ahead, and I told him, let's scratch 2021 and let's start brand new. And let's just try to do this piece by piece. Don't try to do the whole thing. I think that's what happened to him his rookie year, honestly. I wouldn't say it's coaching. It wasn't the player fault or nothing like that. It was trying to just do the whole thing at one time, which you can't do when you're trying to develop players who D Barnes didn't have a lot of time on task as stack backer at Purdue. He was that hybrid edge roll, stacking back type thing. So when you're dealing with guys like that in this league, how fast it moves, there's a progression that takes place. I talk about that a lot. But it's a real thing. Malcolm, Charles Hayes, and it can happen with veterans. Talk to Alex Anzalone. He had to take on some of my personality and things that I asked him to do that he kind of didn't do in his first 4 or 5 years in this league. And I always put it back to the players because I can have all these fancy plans. I can have all these PowerPoints. I can have all these drills. But until they buy in and choose to trust me, you have nothing.
With Alex in the year he had last year, what does the next step look like for him? What are you asking more from him this year?
We're only going up. And he knows that. What do you want to stay stagnant or go back? Those are the only other two options. So we're going forward. I expect that player to have an all-pro caliber season. And I mean, why not? He's progressed each year. And in my opinion, Alex is now in the prime of his career, playing some of the best ball he's ever played. Knock on wood, he's as healthy as he's ever been. So why not you? Is what I tell them all. Like, why not you? Why do you have to look to the name house, Micah Parsons? Why can't anybody be raving and saying Alex Anzalone? Like, you're a player, you get every opportunity those guys get. So that's the standard, and that's what we live by. I expect these guys to operate like all pro linebackers.
And then Jared, just the way he was able to thrive in his limited snaps last year, do you see more of an opportunity for him maybe this year, at least in training?
That's hard to talk about until we get to camp, really, the roles on like game day and going into the season. But these guys know I played in the 5 deep in my room last year. I've done that consistently since I gotten here, and I take pride in it because I've been that player at some games where you go and you're standing on the sideline watching a game and you got the best seat in the house, but your cleats never touch the grass. In my opinion, these guys work too hard for that to ever happen. So if a guy's established that he can help us on game day, that may be 5 plays. Like I tell Malcolm, he went from playing 60 plays to 5 to 10 plays. If you have a role in the game, get in there and maximize your opportunities.
I think Williams said he envisions destruction playing next to DJ Reader. What can those guys do for the guys in the room?
Well, tell Aleem I envision it too, so he better make it happen. Like that sounds good, but we got to put the pass on and make it happen. DJ Reader's been, if not the best, one of the, in my opinion, top 5 defensive tackles defending the run in this league for a while. We all know that. But again, that's what he's done in the past before he put on this uniform. Aleem is a guy on the come. The same thing out of Aleem. I know the expectations T have for Aleem. We feel like he still hasn't tapped into his full potential, and he knows that. So you make sure the next time you talk to Aleem Coden that I said he better put that vision into reality, because that'll be a thing of beauty for guys like Jack, Enzo, D-Barnes, because it frees them up. It allows, if you got to hang on double teams on those guys, who's blocking us? You know what I mean, kind of thing. So it's going to be a pleasure playing behind him. And Levi Onwuzurike is another D lineman I want to shout out, a guy that's worked through injury, and he's really progressing, a guy that we're excited to play behind this year as well.
A couple more guys.
What does Coach Williams bring to the table?
Big T. T, well, I got history with T. I've actually played behind his defensive line in Miami when he had Sue, Olivier Vernon, Earl Mitchell, all these guys. So I know the style of play these guys play with. So it was like a natural thing. When T got here, he tells me, "What up, Shep?" Reunion. He walked in the door. We sat down for a couple hours, talked about how we was going to do the front 7, talked about how we were going to play. I already knew a lot of his terminology. So it was really just me getting in the classroom, my linebackers, and letting them know the standard that man lives by. And the way he coaches and the way he demands certain things of his players. I think you'll see, again, nothing to what's happened here before, but T's the top of the echelon when you talk about D-line coaches in this league, and the standard and his expectations, he's never going to deviate from them. So I expect that room to rise as well, and it'll be good for all of them. It already has been.
When you guys have those conversations about the front 7, do you set goals at all for the group?
Before you can set goals, you have to set a foundation. So I think right now the things we've been discussing this offseason has been foundationally. I think we all know where we're at as an organization and what the goal is this year. Dan, the whole enchilada, he's been eating a lot of Mexican, but that's what we're all in this year, is for the whole enchilada, and that trickles down to rooms, the defense, offense,
run stopping, things like that.
Well, I believe we were second last year or something like that. So you never want to stay stagnant or go backwards. So. I do like Mexican food. Not a big enchilada guy, but I guess I am now. All right, no problem.